safe to say that's the kind of effort and performance you kind of want to see out of Sebastian on a regular basis.
Yeah, I thought that was the key. Obviously, Marshall's back and makes 25 points, and he's obviously involved in a lot of plays, both good and bad. But the difference in the game was we finally got a post guy to finish some at the basket. We won a battle of the glass against a team that was in the tops of our league in rebounding margin, kept some balls alive, turned them over. I thought it was an overall a pretty solid performance out of our guys. And again, it sets a new standard in that this is what we're capable of if we take the right approach. So now it's my job to make sure I hold them to that standard.
Have you felt like Sebastian's been really close to having something?
I think so, and it's amazing when that ball goes in the basket, what that does for your confidence. I thought he made a couple early. They were really extended on Marshall, and we've seen this now for almost 2 years that he's been in our program. When teams choose to play that way, we have to take advantage of it behind the zone. We're cognizant of it, and we try to throw the ball in there. And then we have to finish plays, and today Sebas was the guy that finished the plays, and that's something that we've been sorely missing.
Andy, I hate to ask this, but obviously after 2 shots go in with less than a second to go, and they're standing there with 8, 7 counting down.
Yeah.
How much of a relief is it to see one kick out?
Well, it is a relief, and we had our best defender on the ball, Marshall Henderson.
Yeah, that's coaching.
Well, I mean, I just knew at the end, let's just put our glove on him, and I'm glad the kid missed it.
Andy, you guys were down 5, I think, a minute and a half or so to go, and it looked like you were running action for Marshall, and they were not going to let him have that shot.
Sure.
How big was that shot that Snoop hit to cut it to 2 there?
Huge, huge. And you know what, Neil? He's been working. He struggled. We've talked about this a lot. We need a third option. Jarvis has not been up to Jarvis's standard because Jarvis was playing like a first-team All-League guy through about the first 13 or 14. He's now, come back down to human levels. We have Marshall, and we expect Marshall to carry us at times. We need another guy, and Snoop, as we've gotten into league play, is playing better, shooting the ball better. He's being more assertive. Tonight he was tentative early. Was 0 for 4 in the first half, dribbled a couple off his feet. The ball just things that are inexplicable. Second half, we told him to be more aggressive, attack, because with his size, he can really give us an added dimension. He's also shot the ball really well. We've put a lot of time in. We're not in full-time school yet. You guys know that. And he spent a lot of time in the gym, and he's been making shots. We chart a lot of his shots, and I actually told him before the timeout, if it's not there, step into it like you've been in practice, and that's what he did. He stepped in, knocked down a huge shot. I thought it was probably the biggest of the game.
Was that a secondary option
Exactly,
on that play?
exactly. We've got 2 different sides of things going on. We're trying to get Marshall on some flip action, we call it, and then on the other side, you've got spacing, and what ends up happening, the way they were playing it, big guy gets extended, so everybody has to get to the level of the ball. So he's the furthest from the ball, which if we can get it to him, he ought to have an advantage on the closeout.
Brian had 6, Mickey had 2. What did you guys do to attack those guys?
I thought Johnny never really got much of an offensive rhythm. We didn't double him big to big because we're so small on the perimeter. A lot of times when I have Jarvis and Derek and Marshall in the game or any combination of that. So we don't choose to go big to big, double, but we were really digging. We were really digging and not allowing him to turn. He turned it over a couple of times. Then I think he was looking for the double team, and we were lucky that it was not his best night.
Marshall hit a couple, just ridiculous shots.
Marshall shots. He had a couple Marshall shots.
Right. Psychologically for your team and, against LSU, like how big is that to have, when he makes those? You know
what's sick is I expect him to go in. That's sick. Of course, I'm the one that lets him shoot them all. So if I don't expect him to go in, then yeah, exactly. I'm crazier than I will. But we expect him to go in. Everybody expects him to go in. And how many times is he off an offensive rebound? I thought it was a huge play. It's a winning play. It's a hustle play. AJ keeps the ball alive, gets the ball tipped out. Marshall usually does that once every game or once every other game, and that was a huge dagger.
Would you like him to pull that out, considering clock and time right there?
No, I mean when you ride with him now, you got to ride with him. There's no halfway in. You're in. I'm in.
Andy, what about the 3 that he made with a kick right over him?
Yeah, he's done that. He does that from time to time as well. When you look at it, I'm like, man, he shot some bad balls and he's rushing. And you look at his numbers, he's 7 for 16, he's 6 for 12. He makes his free throws. He had 7 assists. I tell him all the time, there's one guy on our team that can take high-risk shots, and that's Marshall Henderson. I don't need Marshall to be a high-risk defender. I need him to be solid. I don't need Marshall to make high-risk passes like he did when he tried to force it into AJ. I need him to take high-risk shots. That's all the risk I can take.
Now 2-1 in the SEC, go to South Carolina, now winning on the road.
Huge. It's huge for us just to defend our home court. We haven't done that. We lost 3 just heart-wrenching losses. To Oregon, when you had a chance at the end maybe to sneak that one out when you couldn't get a stop, and then obviously you battle, you get beat on 2 last-second shots. So we've got to do a good job of regaining our confidence of winning in this building, which we've typically been pretty good at. And tonight I thought was a huge step in that direction. Now we've got to go take our show on the road, and we've been pretty good on the road. We haven't been good in the hump, but we've been pretty good on the road. Last year we weren't good at South Carolina. Hopefully Saturday will be different.
Anything else? What was the key to all the momentum in overtime? You don't see teams that outscore by 14 a lot.
Made shots. I just thought we made shots. I thought we were always in attack mode. When you go 5 for 6, you got to like your chances. We did a good job defensively of coming up with some loose balls at the end, and for us to be +10 in our last outing and +8 on the glass tonight against that front line, I think we're making progress in that area. Thanks.
Coach.